What is going on? Man, very, very interesting day. I hope you are having a great Monday night, as it might seem. Um, I thought what I would do is hop on and share my thoughts. Took me a while because I like to make sure that, like, if I'm gonna share something with you, like, it's worth something and at least gives you something to think about. So I don't like to just like rush into a conversation and not actually be able to provide you some value of something, or at least some version of conversation that would be helpful, right? So if you're watching this on the replay, make sure that you go ahead and share this. Um, if you are watching live, thank you. Feel free to leave a comment. But I wanted to give a little bit of, give a different perspective. I've seen some. I haven't had a whole lot of time today on social media to see like what people are posting and what people are saying. But I did want to give like my perspective, and maybe it may give some people some insight. Maybe you may think this guy's crazy, what have you. I do think though it's important that like we have this conversation. So I'm gonna put back up my. Let me put this back up. Let me put this back up. All right, you see it. You see it. I'm gonna sit this right here. I'm gonna sit this over to the side. Okay, so here's what I wanna share. And the reason why I said like let me explain is because, and if you got comments, questions, thoughts, put them in the comments. I'll read them and bring them out loud. But obviously Will Smith, Chris Rock. Well, my name is Christopher Williams. So in my mind, I'm going, that's pretty cool. Really weird, unique circumstance for me. But the question was to myself, I was asking myself, like, why? I get why people like immediately reacted to the situation. By all accounts, this was not a joke, obviously, based on everything that I read today. Like, no, this was for real. And he felt the kind of way about it. And so, the thing that I thought about was, man, well, it's Chris Rock and Will Smith. Well, I kind of see myself in both people. That's the way I look at it. Like, I look at this situation and I go, yeah, I could see that. I can understand being both people at the same time. Like, I can understand it. I get it. Like, I honestly get it. Like, in my mind, as I kind of thought through the day, like, I get it. Like, I can understand being both people at the same time. Totally get it. But the reason why I said I need to explain is because I think instead of like just reacting to the moment, now that the moment has passed, right? It's a whole day later. I think for me, I was like, man, I could see myself in both people, and my name happens to be Christopher Williams, so I've got Chris and Will inside of me. So that was interesting, and that literally like hit me like about an hour ago. I'm like, yeah, I can see myself in both. So let me share this. I think the first thing that I want to say is we have a tremendous responsibility in this world today to be doggone near perfect as men, and as particularly as men of color. Let me say that. The second thing I want to say is that while I understand both sides, I just honestly don't agree with the the time in the powder keg blow up exploding moment, because I've been there and I understand it. And there's some things that like you cannot get back. Like I've been there. Like I've honestly been there where you've had enough. And in the moment when you feel like you've had enough, I've literally snapped. And I know what that feels like. Now, I don't know what it feels like for millions of people to be all in your business 24 hours a day. I could not imagine being Will Smith. In today's world, I'm saying. Like, I cannot imagine everything that you do is scrutinized, is talked about. I could not imagine like being the person that is constantly got an eye on them, and there's never, like, it never turns off. Some of us have our eyes on us, but for a mere moment. It feels like forever, but eventually the moment passes and we move on, right? Break up with your girlfriend, and everybody knew your girlfriend in your circle, so you got to deal with that. Have a divorce. You go through a divorce that, and you've been, around, you've intermingled friends and relationship friends and family and everything else. That feels like it's forever, but eventually you get through that. I cannot imagine that from the time I've been 19, my entire life has been on public display. I can't imagine that. I can't imagine being in that space. Meanwhile, on the other side, if I'm Chris Rock, I somewhat look at his situation and go, well, how do I have some understanding? Right? Is there any understanding to even be had from Chris Rock's perspective? Like for example, had Will Smith not walked on stage, had he not slapped him, had the joke just been made and moved on, what would have been the ultimate ramifications for Chris Rock for the joke? I don't know. We unfortunately, what happened, so we don't know, what the other side is. I do know that when I stop and think about it, I go, well, okay, how is it that I can have understanding for both sides? Now, I want to preface one thing. I'm coming from a mature place that says, how do you understand both sides, and being neutral about whether I agree or disagree. So I just want to put that out there. I think in today's world, one of our biggest challenges is that we live in a society where we're not willing to at least listen to someone who agrees or disagrees with us, or just have a neutral conversation without trying to judge each person, but willing to listen to understand, right? So looking at yesterday, what I am doing is going, how do I put both feet in Will's position, and how do I put both feet in Chris Rock's position? That's just where I'm coming from, just so you have some context, right? To where I'm thinking, I'm choosing a different playing field, right? So if I'm Chris Rock, how do I understand his position? Like, how do I understand it? Well, I grew up listening to Chris Rock. I grew up sneaking listening to him at night on Def Comedy Jam. I've watched all of his movies, every version of CB4 to New Jack City to you name it, I've watched it. I also am very aware of the era of comedy in which he comes from. I also am aware that things have also changed. And I can understand that as a comedian from the era that he came from, that he comes from, and the way he sees life and the way that tends to articulate, well, I can at least understand. Again, I'm not here about agree or disagree. I at least understand how he arrived at the joke. I get it. But I have to tell y'all a real honest thing. I see myself in both people. Smaller scale, for sure. My name ain't worldwide. I haven't done 20 blockbuster movies. I haven't written a hit record. I haven't stood on stage and made, hundreds and millions of people laugh. I haven't done any of that. I am a man, though. And I do understand exactly where both could be coming from. So let me share with you a quick story, if you'd be so kind to indulge me. So I can remember not that long ago, Chris Williams being in Will Smith's place. I know what it feels like to be in a position where it seems that the world that in his case, it's the actual world. In my case, it was the world that I was in. I know what it's like to be in his position and just had enough. For whatever his reasons are. I understand feeling like I can't do this anymore. I've been there. For me, it was going through a divorce. And my little world comprised of friends, comprised of church people, comprised of family, intermingled family. My world comprised of so many different aspects that I, in my world, could not get out of or get away from my divorce situation. No matter if I tried to, every corner I turned, every place I went, there's somebody that either we were both connected to or whatever the case may be, right? So in my world, it was difficult. And there was a moment, hand on the Bible. Where's my Bible? Right here. Hand on the Bible. I snapped, y'all. Because I'm the kind of person at that time, I'm a lot more mature now, but at that moment, I'm going to defend my name because that's all I got at the end of the day. I don't own anything else, right? At that time, it was like, man, I got people saying this, rumors here. I've got all kind of stuff going out. And it's like, I'm by myself. And it's a very difficult thing to be in a scenario where you're having to still do your job, get up every day, be the smile one, be the one that everybody sees is nice, be the punching bag in some cases, be the blunt of every joke, be the one that gets assumed about, whatever the case may be. It's very difficult, at least from my perspective, in my moment, to maintain that and just accept that there's this version of life where people go, well, just let it roll off your back. Those people don't matter. Well, no, in the long run, they may not. But I sure do. I matter. So I can understand from at least Will Smith's perspective as a man, I know what it's like to have small thing after small thing, major thing after major thing just start to add up to a boiling point, and unfortunately, we snap as men. My snap was actually, so as I mentioned, I'm going through my divorce at the time, and I snapped by running up on another man's house and ready to fight because he's got a whole lot to say and I'm feeling a certain way, and I thought I could like not say anything, and just I snapped. Was that really stupid of me? Absolutely. Was I thinking in the time, in the moment that I snapped? Yeah, I was thinking. I'm not going to tell y'all what I'm thinking. Yes, I was thinking I've had enough. I'm tired of whatever the conversation is, and I couldn't take it no more. So if I like, at least I can say with 100% certainty, I understand at least being in a position in life where you snap and you've had enough. Have you ever been there? Like, has there ever been, I don't think I'm the only human on the planet, but have you ever been in a situation in life where your world, again, I'm not Chris Rock, I'm not Will Smith, but I am Chris Williams. And I'm a man of color. And I've been in moments in life where I've had enough. Where all of the little microaggressions and passiveness and things that keep happening, I can at least say, look, you can choose to like react to what Will Smith said, or you can step back and look at your life and go, or I mean, you can step back and look at what Will Smith did, or you can at least step back and look at your life and go, yeah, I've been there. I'm saying you can at least look at his life with a little bit of understanding. And you can say, yeah, I've been there. I've been there in my own life where I snapped. Where I just couldn't take it anymore. And all of the right, wrong conditions showed up in one moment, and I lost it, right? I think we can at least all say we've been there. Now, on Chris Rock's side, I can understand what he did, and I can also understand how, at least have some sort of empathy for how excruciatingly difficult it must have been to not react naturally when being slapped publicly. I've been there. I've been there when somebody disrespects me, like in public. I've been there when someone's disrespected my wife in public. I've been there when someone chose microaggression racism and thought it was okay. I've been there. I've been there. And I can understand, at least from Chris Rock's standpoint, to not react. I can at least understand it. I've been there at work when I've been blatantly disrespected in front of my peers. I've been there. Yep. And in the moments that those times happen, I have to make a decision. And sometimes in making that decision, I realize the split second decision that I make is either going to go well or go very, very, very wrong. Not just a little wrong. Because when you've been publicly disrespected, again, maybe I'm the only one, but if you've ever been publicly disrespected, then you know there's but a nanosecond of a decision on whether or not you react. Because if you react, it's going to go really, 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 really wrong, really fast. And so as a man of color, I can only imagine after the moments I've been through in life where someone chose to disrespect me publicly. And again, I just want us to think back on our life. Like if you just stop and think about being in Chris Rock's position for a second. Have you ever been publicly disrespected? I have. I've been there. And we all have a decision to make in that moment. Because if the alternative had happened, had Chris Rock responded and started going into a fight and trading blows with Will Smith, most people would, they're already choosing sides, but people would have been even more ingrained in their sides. And what I'm saying to you is, my name is Chris Williams. Will Smith and Chris Rock got into a fight, and I found myself going, I'm both of those men, though. I can't say I'm just one, and I can't say I'm just the other. I'm actually both men. And I get it at least. I can at least, without judging right or wrong, I can at least say, I understand. All right, Philip says, Chris held it together last night. He did it. He was strong and composed. This is his friend. He remembered that in that moment. Y'all, all I'm saying is, my name is, I was thinking about this all day. I'm sitting down eating dinner tonight with my wife, and it hit me, and I'm like, that's Chris Rock and Will Smith. My name is Chris Williams. I am both of those men. And I get it. I know that in Chris's mind in that moment, he did not think Will Smith would do that. But he had a decision to make. Have you ever been blatantly disrespected in public and had to make a decision? Call it high road, call it whatever. But I think all of us can at least agree. I know there's plenty of places in my life that I can point to where I was publicly disrespected, whether at work, whether in front of other people, whether in front of my family, in front of my wife. Like, I can point to several different such scenarios where I didn't snap, but I was publicly being disrespected. So I'm saying, like, both men felt disrespected. I am both of those men. I can understand Will Smith's position. He just snapped, y'all. I'm a man of color. I've had moments where I've snapped, where I'm sorry, but the pressure of just constantly smiling and taking it has its limits. I'm human. I snapped, y'all. I was going through it. As I told the story, I was going through a divorce. All of our families and friends and church and everything else was intertwined. And I ran up on somebody's house because I got sick of being disrespected. I've been there, y'all. Like I've been there. And I woke up this morning and found out, because I wasn't watching TV. We don't watch a lot of TV. I woke up this morning and just saw it and was like, whoa, this really happened last night. Okay. And I immediately went, dang, but I get it. Right? When I read what's going on and how things happen, like I get it. So I understand Will Smith's perspective, but I also understand what it took for Chris Rock to stand there in public display. Again, I've never sold out arenas. I've never been the guy to stand on stage and make people laugh all of my life, but I've been the black man standing there when I'm being publicly disrespected and not chosen to return violence. I've been there. I've been in Chris Rock's shoes before in my own world. Have you? I think we all have. I think we can all point to a moment where it was like, right now, I could go a few different directions, but I'm choosing not to. And if you saw what Chris Rock was about to say, if you look at the video, it seems like he's about to say, man, I could say some things, but he chose not to. I can see courage in both men. I can. I can see courage in Will Smith going, I'm going to stand up for my wife because he felt like it was disrespect. She probably felt like it was disrespect. Fair. Okay. He stood up for his wife. I can see courage in Chris Rock to not return blows and to move on with the night. I see courage. I also see weakness in both men. At the same time, I see weakness in both men. For Will Smith, he had a moment, man. He snapped. You ever snapped before? Like before we want to judge Will Smith. So you mean to tell me your whole life you ain't never snapped? You never snap at your kids? Never had an argument with your spouse? You've never snapped at work? Never snapped at a neighbor? Never snapped at a family member? Never? I mean, proud of you, but I think we can all point to a moment where we snapped. We had a weak moment. Yep. Pressure gets too big or whatever the case may be. I can understand the weakness in Chris Rock. I see a weakness there. Whether that weakness for him was the public embarrassment in the moment or not thinking that, wow, that escalated from something that I've been doing my entire life. Can we, again, without judging whether they were right or wrong, I'm asking myself the question all day, can I at least understand from Chris Rock's perspective, given his history, given where he's come from, the era of comedy that he grew up doing, the way he does stuff, had it been Dave Chappelle, we know Dave Chappelle rubs some people the wrong way, good, bad, or indifferent. And so I'm just saying, I see the strength in both men. I see the weakness in both men. I also would imagine that for both of them, whether in the moment, after the moment, I would imagine it had to be very difficult to look at the people that you care about in the eye right after the moment. I think when the adrenaline's high and there's a disrespectful moment, and I think when we say certain things or we treat people a certain way in a moment, right? And you feel, and like when the adrenaline's high, right? Like in your mind, you like, yeah, you shouldn't have said what you said, or you feel a certain way. And I'm just saying, sometimes I think when we go back and look at the moment, we gotta say to ourselves, I wonder. What Chris Rock did was not publicly push the already narrative of black men on black men aggression. He made a split decision to not be the stereotype. See, that's what I'm saying, Chris. I can see the strength in him. I see the nanosecond decision. Because can I say something that may make a few people uncomfortable, but I think it needs to be said? There's already a narrative about us as men of color. And unfortunately, we don't always get the benefit of the doubt. And so that's why I say I can see the strength in Chris Rock. Because he chose not to react in front of millions. Yo, I reacted in front of about 10 people. Right? Yo, we react on the highway, giving people, the symbol of love with one finger. Right? There's so many times in our lives where we react to people. It's amazing. Here's this man on one of the biggest stages of his life that he's constantly been on before, and he didn't choose to give in to. Now, here's the other part. I'm going to go ahead and say this. I cannot imagine Chris Rock walking off that stage and the anger he must have felt for the way he was disrespected. Publicly, by the way. Do you realize that a lot of people will use this scenario over and over and over again? This will not die. It will be brought up again next year at the Oscars. People will make jokes about it. People will say stuff about it. People will call Chris all types of names. People will call Will Smith all types of names. This will turn into the most spiraling out of control, all kind of stuff, right? But I see myself in both men. If I'm being completely honest, when the lights are off and you go to bed at night, listen, I see myself in both men. The Oscars could have chosen to cut to a commercial, but instead they played this out for ratings, showing Will and Chris and the audience. Why not go to commercial? You know what, sir? You're absolutely right. That was a choice by the Oscars. From what I understand, in America, I think they may have muted the audio. But I think the reason why some of the video is going around is because I think overseas the audio didn't stop, right? Like they kept going. I think that's what happened. Chris says they both made a decision to protect their family, personal family and culture family. Wow. There's a thought. Wow. There's a thought. Think about it, y'all. I'm just saying, can we have an honest discussion about this and really step back and ask ourselves, can I see, as a man, I see myself in both men. I done snapped before. Hard. Lost all control. I done been there. And when I snapped, I ain't care who saw me. In fact, I was happy people saw me snap because I'm hoping they make sure that they know that you don't push Chris that far. Listen, I done been there, man. I can understand Will Smith's point, but I understand being Chris Rock and the choice that he made to not go there. Do you realize all the stuff he could have said from stage in that moment? Do you realize how he could have returned fire? In fact, do you realize that even today, Chris Rock could pull up in New York and say, hey, I'm going in person. I'm going to this theater. Y'all pull up. I'm about to unload on Will Smith. Do you realize he could do that right now and draw a crazy crowd? He's not choosing to do it. I'm telling y'all, I just see myself in both men. I get it. I get it. I honestly understand it. Again, I'm going to say the disclaimer that I made at the beginning, because if you catch this and you're in the middle and you're on either side, I want you to know that I'm coming at this conversation from the perspective of I understand both men, and I'm not here to judge right or wrong. I'm telling you, if we put both of our feet in both men's shoes, we can at least have an understanding. And I think that's what's missing in today's world today. We're not willing to come together to have at least understanding, not trying to judge right or wrong, especially in moments like this. Because I'm a man of color. My name is Chris Williams. I have Chris and Will in my name. And I realize tonight I'm both men. I get it. I get it. The Oscars also had the camera angles on point. They did not cut to a top angle camera. Remember, Janet wardrobe malfunction. They cut to a wide angle. Okay. But the director last night kept cutting back and forth like it was staged. Oh, okay. Okay. I didn't think about that. I think I did read there were some things about like people were wondering like, hey, was this staged, right? People are wondering, right? And I guess after I kept watching and the way I looked at things, I don't see it as staged. I don't see it as staged. But I'm also saying I can see can we at least pause and get away from fringe conversations around it? Can we at least say we see ourselves in both men? And I'm talking about every day. You know those times that you were being publicly disrespected and you had to choose not to return fire. As a black man, I know I can say that. As a man, period. I'm sure there's plenty of us men, black, white, brown, whatever. We've had our moments where we felt like we were disrespected and we chose not to return fire. We also can say we are men and we've had moments where it became too much. Microaggressions, passive aggressiveness, blatant disrespect, prolonged disrespect, all of it. It starts to turn into a powder keg, man. And let me tell you, you push a real man too long, you about to find out you're going to get the full force of what a real man looks like when he's sick and tired of being sick and tired. Now, here's what's really interesting. This is something, and this is just the way my mind works, y'all. This is the way my mind works, okay? Here's what's interesting. I don't think that as a man, I would have had the strength on either side. I'm just being completely honest. I'm saying in the moment, based on the video that I saw kind of leading up to it. Like I saw a video of like as Chris was going through a series of jokes, and then he finally got to Jada, and then Will Smith walks up and then sits down, and then the disrespect. And then Chris kind of choosing to move on. Like that's all I've seen. I haven't seen any that far behind or right after. But I will say this: I don't know, y'all. I don't know. Yeah, you could say right now, well, Will should have, waited, and he could have caught him in the back, and they could have, gone at it in the back. Yeah, they could have. That's true. That's a fair option. Fair option. And you're right. I said it this morning. I'm like, dang, Will, come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, Will. But when I gave it more thought, whatever he's dealing with, whatever microaggressions he's got to constantly try to block all the time. Like, again, in our little world of our bubbles, we don't like It's hard to go half a day without without wanting to hurt somebody or say something back to somebody who disrespects us. Can you imagine millions of people since you've been like 18, 19 years old always got their name in your mouth? You can't go anywhere without scrutiny. And by the way, um, here's something that you all need to know if you haven't read Will's book. First of all, if you haven't read his book, which is titled Will, you should go read that book. And if you haven't read his book, I did. If you haven't, I would then go back and think about what happened last night. And I would ask you a question. Is this on par with Will Smith? I'm not going to spill any beans about the book. I'm just going to say, go read it. Because I'm going to tell you right now, one thing he did not do, he ain't pulled no punches in that book. He told it all. And he was very honest about Will. So, I think we should have some empathy. I think we should stop and ask ourselves, have I ever been Will Smith? Have I ever been Chris Rock? Have I ever been disrespected? Have I ever had to stand up in the middle of being disrespected? I think it's worth a conversation. Internally, I'm saying. I think because the truth of the matter is that do you realize that's the fight we have every day internally? Do you realize sometimes we're butting heads with ourselves, y'all? Whether or not I react, whether or not I choose to respond, whether or not I deal with that microaggression or just let it go, whether or not I keep the peace, whether or not I bring two pieces. What like, do you realize that that's an internal battle that was caught live on camera? I'm just wanting us to stop and think about, yeah, what you saw, yeah, whew, that's kind of crazy. But if you really break that thing down in your own life and you start thinking about it, I think we can all say, yeah, I see myself in both of them. Yep, I see it. Yeah, I see it. It ain't about right, wrong, or indifferent. I'm saying I know what it feels like to be in some of the most roughest times of my life and seeing people do microaggressions and passive aggressiveness over and over and over and over again. And you can push away assumptions and stuff for a while, but it's hard to say that I'm going to be perfect all day, every day. I also can say that I've been the person that has crossed the line with my mouth before. Yep. So before we go and like take issue with Chris Rock, well, have you ever said anything that was out of the way to somebody that make them want to, go upside your head? I think we can all say we have. I also think we can all say, if we're being honest, we've pushed somebody's button one too many times before. And there'll happen to be a moment where they snapped on us. See, because it was public, we got somebody to point at. I'm looking at this going, because it was public, I need to look at myself. Because I see myself in both men. I know that where I could like say what I would have done or what should have been done, I'm stopping and going, dang, I probably would have done the same exact thing on both sides, I'm saying. On both sides, I probably would have done the same exact thing. I've had those moments of snapping, but my level of influence and privilege was way different than Will Smith. Facts. If I was Will Smith from Costco, smacking Chris's coworker charges would have been filed. Truth. It's crazy when Antonio Brown snapped, he took off his jersey and ran off the field. Yes, he did. Yep, no one was on his side, as many were in this situation. There was an immediate hate, and he needs an evaluation. You're right, sir. I get it. Listen, man. Listen, I just and again, I'm not the guy that sits there and watches the same stuff over and over and over and over and over again. I saw it a few times this morning. Talked with my wife about it and talked with her through it. And just tonight, it hit me like, my name is Chris Williams. It's Will and Chris. I'm both of those men. And I can see myself in both responses. I could even see myself apologizing. I read some apologies from both sides, right? I get it. Now, some may say, oh, Chris Rock should have known she had alopecia. You know, maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But I think about Chris Rock's position. Chris Rock I grew up watching Chris Rock on things like Def Comedy Jam, CB4, Bigger and Blacker. Like, I've watched his comedy from a different lens. So because I like to live from a place of understanding, at least, when I watch his comedy, I know what to expect because I know the way he does comedy. And I don't sit here and go wrong or right. I go, he's a comedian. His lens of life is just very different. I don't look at it for good, bad, or indifferent. I look at it as he's a comedian. In his world, he just sees things differently. I see things differently. You see things differently. So I'm saying I at least have understanding of how he arrived at the joke. He's a comedian from an era by which, there is nobody like Chris Rock in today's generation. Not one. Dave Chappelle grew up in that era. I mean, I could see an Eddie Murphy or Richard Pryor making that joke. I could see, my point is, that era of comedy, man. And I will say this about comedy. This is all 100% Chris Williams. I think comedy does a good job of putting the salve on life because life is hard. And I think when people give us an opportunity to laugh, those who have that lens to make us laugh through the pain, I think they're needed. That's just me. I don't agree with, it's not about whether I agree with everybody. I'm not here for that. What I am saying is, I at least understand. I get Will, I get Chris. And because Chris Rock is who he is. So when we talk about strength of like Chris Rock's position, yes, he got slapped, right? That's right, Chris. He was just being him. That's the point I want to make, y'all. Before we want to ban Chris Rock and all that cancel stuff, I respect him because Chris Rock was being 100% authentically Chris Rock. I'm going to respect you for that. Will Smith was being 100% Will Smith. I'm going to respect you for that. And I think take some time and think about that on your own. But I think that's something we don't, I think that's something we don't ever stop and go, huh. What's it like if I'm just being 100% myself every day? Ooh, what would that feel like? Would I be able to stand on stage in front of millions? Would I be able to stand on the stage of my life and stay my 100% authentic self? Y'all, it's so many things that I think about with this, with this moment that is important. He referenced G.I. Jane. Yep. And it's a movie from his era. 100%. Again, I go back to the very beginning of what I said. I'm not here to judge right and wrong. I realize I see myself in both men, and I'm choosing to put both of my feet in one person and both of my feet in the other, just so I can have a perspective to go, wow, I'm both of those men at the same time. Jesus. I get protection. I get standing up for. I get defending. On both sides. I get why people react also. Because it happened for the whole world to see. It didn't happen backstage so that somebody ran out with a microphone and had accounts of a brawl that went down. This happened for the world to see. And the question I ask everybody is, if your life was on display all day, every day, everywhere you went, are you bound to have some things pop up that, somebody would go, how dare she? How dare he? I would imagine so. So anyway, I just thought I would bring some perspective. I'm not here to agree or disagree with either side. I'm just here to say I see myself in both people. And maybe it would do us some good to pause on the emotional reaction to the situation and maybe look at ourselves and ask, have you ever snapped before? Have you ever stood tall? Just a thought. Y'all have a good night. Love y'all. See you tomorrow.